Hi everyone. This is Proto Void, or I guess that's how I'm going to be called on this channel. And I'm going to be doing a bit of a fun yet depressing video. I'm going to be documenting the creation process of my recent album, My Void is a Plague, which you can find on this channel and the description if I remember to put it in there. So, a couple of people, for some reason, are curious about the creation process of my music. The Rat King himself, who I won't name, but you know who you are. You suggested I do this video earlier today, and I will definitely do it. So, I intend this video to be kind of chill, just me talking about inspirations, different creative processes for the album and the songs. It's going to be pretty laid back, kind of chill. I don't really have much of a script or notes or anything. I mean, I never do, but this video in particular is just talking randomly into a microphone, and will hopefully at least 2 people will watch, maybe 3. So I might show real pictures of equipment, maybe, but most of it I'm going to do the typical format for my videos and just use stock photos. That's what I do. That's what I'm going to do for this video. But maybe you might see my shitty computer. Who knows? It depends on if I feel like it or not. So, start off with part 1. Inspirations. Now, I'm going to come back to this later in the video, but I want to give a big shout out to Oneohtrix Point Never. If you know him, you know he's an electronic producer. He made an amazing album back in 2011 called Replica. If you have heard that album, you are very much aware that I ripped it off for my new album. I love that album a ton. It's like probably my favorite ambient album, one of my favorite albums of all time. I think it's a beautiful, haunting album. I love it a ton, and I was like, I need to do something just like this, because I realized that a lot of my own songs, or at least the ambient ones, like they sound similar to Oneohtrix Point Never. Even if it wasn't as good, I had this feeling that like if I kept going, I could like potentially do something similar to what I heard on Replica. And I would say that that's probably the biggest inspiration for my album. In terms of like another album to take inspiration from, that was definitely it. As for other inspirations, I had a bit of a friend of mine recommend an album called Untrue by Burial, which is also one of my favorite albums. That quickly became an album I loved a ton. It's really great. It's got like kind of like this like techno ambient sound going on. Like the best way to describe it is like it's like a dance album, almost like dubstep, but it's like really dreary, sad dubstep. It's like dubstep that plays after a party. I sound like a fucking idiot right now, but anyways, Untrue by Burial is really great. Definitely inspired the vibe of the album. Not so much the sound of it, because the sound of it is definitely more Replica, but like the feeling that Untrue gave me kind of transitioned into the album as well. So another great, amazing album, another recommendation from Proto Void, very special right there. Alright, so I think those were kind of like the 2 main albums that come to mind, but I do want to list off some other inspiration, so here we go. Mostly leaning into the the electronic side of music, because obviously my album I would at least consider it electronic. So Kid A by Radiohead, one of my favorite albums of all time, very big trend here. Love that album a ton. Same time, it's very isolating, very depressing, and obviously that's the type of vibe I wanted to go for my album. So I listened to that album a ton during 2020. Not so much during 2022, but still, I love it when I do put it on. Another thing is Vaporwave. Now, the thing about Vaporwave is I don't really have a particular album in mind, but definitely the whole style and aesthetic with Vaporwave was kind of like in my mind a bit. And I did kind of turn to a bit of that style for this album. I think Vaporwave is a fitting secondary genre for the album. Okay, before we get into all the weird depressing shit, I think it's time to get into the fun making music shit. So as you guys might know, or may not, I don't know, I use BandLab. So BandLab is a free app on the App Store that allows you to post and create music. Okay, so this is something that I've been doing for a while now. I started back in 2020. I'm not 100% sure when I started, but my first post on BandLab should tell you when I started. Anyways, back in July 2020, I got the app because I was just curious about what it would be like to make music. I've been doing it for a couple of years now. I have currently 2 albums, 1 EP, and I'm going pretty well. And, I mean, if you listen to the BandLab tapes, which, let's be real here, nobody did, but if you have listened to that album, you would know that it is a scattered mess. It's all over the place. It's quite literally throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. Not a lot of stuff did, though. But one thing that did stick was the ambient songs. The songs that went on in ambient direction, those songs actually turned out pretty well. So I can probably get into the whole recording process of the BandLab tapes another time, but basically that album was me trying a bunch of stuff out, seeing what I liked doing, seeing what turned out the best, and for some reason the ambient stuff just worked really well in that album. Like Smoothie Toothpaste is a song in that album. In my opinion, it's the best song. That's like an ambient song right there, kind of. Pretty good song. I still like it a lot, actually. A couple of other songs too, but basically I just found out that, hey, I'm like pretty good at making ambient stuff. Maybe I should keep doing that. So basically I tried to pursue it. I started listening to more ambient music, started listening to like some vaporwave, stuff like that. Not only did I find out that I liked it, but I can actually make it and be pretty good. So the song Oxygen, which is on the new album, I made, I think, a couple of weeks after the BandLab tapes was finished. I was like, I'm going to make a fucking song. It's going to be ambient. It's going to kick ass. And I called it Sprite Supplier originally, which was a reference to the Replica song Sleep Dealer. Very weird reference, I know, but it's just how it worked out in my head. So, Sprite Supplier is, as we know it now, it's Oxygen, but originally it was called Sprite Supplier. It had a picture of like a McDonald's Sprite or whatever, I don't know. But that song was really cool. I sampled like a Sprite bottle opening up, and that was kind of like the main basis of the song. I'm still really proud of that song to this day. It might be my best song, actually. I really do like that song, but like I was really proud of it at the time. A couple of weeks after the BandLab tapes, I already had like a really cool, interesting song. I was like, hell yeah, this can go somewhere. I can make a cool ambient album. And as the ambient album got further into production, I realized, I was like, Sprite Supplier is really cool. It needs to be on the album, but I don't know about the whole Sprite thing. I think it sounds kind of goofy for this more serious album. So I changed it to Oxygen because I realized that like Oxygen just sounded cool. And because the song lengths were so long on the album, I said Oxygen, breathe it out, just to make it a little longer. But breathe it out was in parentheses. So you can just call it Oxygen if you want to, but yeah. Now, I'm not going to go into all detail for all the songs, but basically the songs all kind of follow the same structure. It was a lot of piano pads, lots of distortion, a little bit of bass, some other instruments too, but I played a lot with piano and distortion and sometimes drums and other stuff on this album. Actually, what's interesting is like a lot of the songs, well, actually no, every song was made using presets on BandLab, which some might say is lazy, or I mean, some might say you're not talented or some shit, which I get. I mean, I am just using presets, but like, or just samples, but the way I see it is like how you put it together and how creative you are to like use these samples and make it your own thing, like that, like that's the music creation process right there. Like that's a part of it. So really, like, I'm proud of myself because I managed to take these samples and take these presets and like make them my own and put them together in my own way. And even if they were only like, basically like, it's like, sure, like they were already there from BandLab. Like BandLab gave these things to me, but like not only is there a shit ton available, but I like made them my own. I added my own effects. I structured them with my own vision, my own ideas. I basically took these samples, made them my own. So like if you think it was a little lazy, that's on you, but like you don't have to like play all the instruments yourself to be a good musician. You can just know if you have the creativity and passion, you can just use samples and you can make awesome music, in my opinion at least. But that's kind of how it went. Yeah, like I took the things I knew I was good at with the synth pads, with the piano pads, with the distortion effects, and I kind of combined them together. I made a very atmospheric, kind of dark ambient record, a little noisy, but still very relaxing and comforting, at least to me. And it's overall a project I am pretty proud of. I think that it is a good project. It's not amazing, but like it's got a lot of promise to it, and I do think it succeeds at a lot of what it tries to do. Now, this is stuff that I can go on for a long time into. Believe me, I might do it at some other point, but right now I want to talk about equipment. So I mentioned that I use BandLab, obviously. We all knew that. I use samples off BandLab. Now, typically what I'll do for making hip-hop beats is, if I want to sample, I'll sample a song off YouTube or Spotify using a screen record. There has been times where I've sampled off vinyl records, although I want to do that again at some point, but I'm going to need a better turntable to do so. But typically screen record, YouTube or Spotify, all of this album, didn't have to do that for. What else do I want to talk about? Oh yeah, so equipment myself. So I use phone. Most of the phone was used on my old phone. But recently I got the newest phone, which I kind of finished up the album on. So like half of it's on like an iPhone 8 Pro or whatever. And the other half is like on an iPhone. I actually don't know what iPhone this is. All I know is that it's the newest one. I don't fucking know anything about iPhones, but you have an old iPhone, the newest iPhone for two halves of the album, which I thought was pretty interesting because my old one broke. Basically, that's the main source of equipment. My Skull Candy headphones. If you know me in person, I feel very unfortunate for you, but if you do, you know I wear these fucking things everywhere. I wear them all the time. I always have them on my neck, and that's because I'm always listening to music or making shit. And, I mean, they're really great headphones. I made the entire album using them. Those headphones are incredible. They really are. Another is computers. I've used my school Chromebook a bit for the BandLab tapes, and I'm pretty sure I used it a bit for this album, not so much. I basically like made BandLab tapes using that Chromebook though, which I find really funny. Another is my shitty laptop. Unfortunately, if you do know me, you know that my laptop is pretty shit. If I've ever tried to stream something for you, you know, don't need to go into detail about that. Maybe I'll show a picture of it on the screen, or maybe I'll just be too fucking lazy. Who knows? But, oh my god, I've been rambling so long about my stupid album that nobody listened to. I feel so sorry for anybody who's sitting through this. I really do. You can click off now, it's fine. But, yeah, shitty equipment. Not so much talent in terms of instruments, but I feel like I have the creative push to make this stuff, and that's what I'm really proud about. Okay, so we talked about some inspirations, we talked about making the album. I want to talk about more so the recording environment. So I'm not going to go too much in detail about this, but like, I recorded most of this in my bed. I would basically just like lay in my bed all day or for so many hours I could and just work on music, either listen to music or work on it. If you know me, you know that I use Rate Your Music a lot. I'm on there every day pretty much, just looking for music and rating stuff, of course, but like really just looking for music. Like, that platform is so great just for like finding shit. And, like, I'll just browse there for, like, hours just looking for stuff to sample or take inspiration from, or just, like, dive down rabbit holes of music. It's so much fun just to browse around on that site. But that site really inspired me in a lot of different ways, like, especially towards cover arts, because if you go on that website and just look through really weird artists and, like, all their weird artwork they use for singles and stuff, that was a huge inspiration for all the cover art I used. In fact, like, during this time, I got really big into, like, SoundCloud rap. I was super into cloud rap. And because I was really into cloud rap, I noticed that those artists use really weird pictures for their cover arts for songs. Basically, it's just, like, weird images they find on the internet. That's kind of like either weird images they take themselves or just weird images they find. And I noticed that it was a really cool trend that they did. Not really a trend, just like a thing they did in general. And because of that, I was like, I should use weird images for my cover art. So that's why you see cursed images on all the songs I do. So naturally, as someone who spent hours at a time laying in my bed alone making music, I was a little depressed. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail why, but like definitely a lot of like loneliness and like, you know, like suicidal thoughts, you know, like basically average depressed shit. And like that type of stuff, it definitely eats at you a bit. It really pulls you down. And you know, the normal person would just take drugs and alcohol. However, I don't have access to that stuff. So as a normal person, I make shitty ambient music to numb the pain. So that's why the song titles are so oddly depressing, and that's why the songs themselves have kind of a dark vibe. It's basically trying to find the comfort in the darkness, and I know that sounds really edgy and lame, but I don't know. To me, it means something. That's kind of the vibe I was going for with the album, and with a lot of the music I listen to, it also kind of gives me that comforting feeling in like a dark time, which I definitely enjoy. So really, like, I can just keep going on and on. But I feel like if you sat through this damn, like, 18-minute video, you want to click off and you want to do something else. In fact, you probably already did. I don't think anyone's listening to me right now. But that's about it. Thank you very much for watching. And this is just an insight into the album. I might unlist this. Who knows? It might be deleted. I have no idea. I'm really nervous about uploading this.